Hey, Rob Montgomery here in the Smart Film School, Studio A of the Smart Film School in Berlin, Germany, where I record all my tutorials, courses, and do remote trainings. Listen, I teach journalists around the world, in fact, in more than 40 countries, how to find, capture, and kill awesome, incredible nonfiction stories with their phones, with GoPros, with mirrorless DSLR cameras, 360 audio. All of that material can be edited in LumaFusion. And we're going to take a look at LumaFusion 3.0 in this quick start course. Come on in. I think you're really going to like it. Okay, so let's just forget about some of the other cameras for a moment and just concentrate maybe on footage coming from your Android or your iPhone device. Of course, if it's on an Android device, you're going to need to export that file out and get it into your iOS device. If it's an MP4 file, it's no problem. You can get started with footage that's already on your phone or your iPad quite easily. In fact, you may be wondering, do I need to have the latest and greatest iPad? I do have the latest and greatest iPad here that I'm going to show you and demonstrate with. I'll be able to show you exactly where the tools are that you need to touch and how to manipulate them to get the results that you want. But even if you have a iPad Pro 1 from the year 2016, guess what? LumaFusion is going to work for you. I've been using this for years. I just got my new iPad M1, and so I like to support people who have older gear as well as the newest gear because it's just more realistic. Now listen, the first time you open up LumaFusion, you're going to see a screen like this, and that can be pretty intimidating. You have to start a new project. The way video editing software works, whether it's on iOS, whether it's LumaFusion, Final Cut Pro, Adobe Premiere, is that you're basically organizing a project that gives a set of instructions to video clips about when to play them, when to start and stop each video clip, what audio level, and basically building on special effects after that. So basically a project is where you want to start. Let's look real quickly over, once you have a few projects in LumaFusion, what that looks like. So you can see here are each of these rows is a different story, a different video. And if you tap on it, you can get an overview here of all the elements there on the timeline. So you can just get a real, and you can scrub them even in this view. So once you get a few projects going, you'll be able to manage them and edit between them. And you can even share these projects between your devices. You can airdrop them. I do this all the time. I'll start a project in the field on my iPhone. And then maybe when I'm back in the hotel or on the train or on the plane back to the newsroom or back to my studio or back to the next client, I will airdrop it to an iPad where I've got a little bit bigger workspace. And you can see I like working on the iPad. In fact, I'll be telestrating this with pencil, so I'll be able to show you exactly where things are and how to get into it. So let's just begin at the beginning where you're going to be, which is with a blank project. You want to tap the plus sign on the bottom left and create a new project. So let's start there. I'm going to fade to black, and when I fade back up, we're going to start importing some clips and start to build our first scene. So again, I'm going to demonstrate with the pencil here. We're going to create a new project. LumaFusion is open. I'm going to tap down here on the plus button on the lower left-hand corner. And you'll see that a pop-up appears, and it will ask you, what should we call this project? My project, parentheses 3? Maybe not. You can use, I'm using the magic keyboard here, but let's just call this practice. Practice 1. And then you'll see that there are some options there about the frame rate, the aspect ratio, the color space. If you don't know what any of those things mean right now, be not concerned. Basically, when you start your project, the app LumaFusion will auto-detect some of those characteristics from your first piece of footage and make an assumption that that's what you want for your project. And trust me, most of the time that works just fine. But if you want to have that pro control and override, you can say, I really want to have a project at 24 frames per second, like a Hollywood filmmaker, and I want to be at an aspect ratio of, let's say, 2.39 to 1, like a widescreen cinema. So you can actually cut all types of video and film footage in this app. If you want to make vertical video, here's where you can do that at the beginning. You can always change those settings. Let's just make it easy here, because your project in this quick start tutorial will be to tell, maybe in 30 to 60 seconds, the story of a place. You're going to do that primarily with pictures, but you'll have options to use voiceover, text over, or just music. Let's go to the plus button here on this pop-up, and you'll see that blank project, right? Now, I've just switched to this view to let you know that there is basically 3 areas that you need to focus on in just about any video editing app, but particularly with LumaFusion, because it follows the standard user interface. Basically, all of our clips are in a library over here, and we can determine those sources, whether they're in our photos library, whether they're on an external hard drive attached to USB-C or Lightning over here, whether they're already in our files app, we've already copied them over. Maybe I sometimes have to do that with my audio recorder. I'll just import it, and it'll go into files. I'll put it in a folder. And anyways, this is just where you're going to choose the media that you want to build your story with. Usually we start with the photos, and we might even just go into videos. But if you have created albums, and this is really what I teach, it's really easier to have a pre-select of all of your footage from that particular story in one basket, so that you just have one basket to go to rather than looking at everything on your device. Which is, if you get some of these the larger devices that have larger storage, like I always get the maximum memory because I know I'm going to fill it up, and then I have to back it up. It just can be overwhelming. So here's an album of just shots from Greece, and as you tap on each one, you can get a little preview, and you can see the first frame, and that usually is an indication of what the shot content might be, the shot size, etc. So this is clearly and if you just tap over here, if you do it with your finger too, you can scrub. This is called scrubbing. So I'm scrubbing a clip, and if I put my finger there, you see it's 17 seconds and 6 frames long, and I'm at the 8-second and 4th frame right here. Okay, so I can see she starts walking here. Well, then I can very quickly just move this yellow handle over to where she starts to walk, maybe about right there. And now when I scrub, see that's at 9 seconds. And then I grab the other handle. And let's say now I have something that's about 3 or 4 seconds long, right? Right there it's at 4 seconds. Now I can tap this arrow going down to the timeline. So that brings, we started over here in the library, right? Then we looked in the preview window to do an in and out point, set an in and out point for that little video clip. And now we're going to drop it down to the timeline. You could just grab it and take it down. Awesome. Most favorite button in this app is something called undo, and it's right there. Did you see the arrow go back? Or I could redo it. Let me undo it, and let me go back and select our clip from our library, from the album of shots that I had for this walking shot sequence. And you see, it remembered our in and out points that I had set. And it gives you all the time code about that. If we look a little bit more precisely here, on the list, 4.02. That's 4 seconds and 2 frames based on the time code, frames per second of the clip. In this case, we can always determine that by tapping on the information. That's the little I tab over here. on that clip, there's a little button. So a lot of LumaFusion, it's all these little buttons. That's why I like to show this view with pencil so you can see the details. I tapped here with the clip selected, and I can see that this was recorded, right, at 1920 by 1080. If I want to see what frame rate I'm using, I can go down here to the settings and see my frame rate. It's going to be based on the first clip added. I haven't added the clip. Remember, I undid it. So these are some of the areas where you'll go when you're starting a project. You can go to the project settings. So anyways, I've got my clip. This is normally what I will use, this tool right here, to drop the clip onto the timeline. And as soon as I do that, the frame rate information is picked up. It's 30 frames per second. So my project base will be 30 frames per second. Now that's pretty much the standard video frame rate for most smartphones, most consumer gadgets, especially if you are located in the United States of America, that's the video frame rate. Other parts of the world, it's at 25 frames per second for reasons that we can't go into here. It doesn't matter. LumaFusion can mix and match. And if most of your clips are on one frame rate, that's what you want to be set to. Okay. So don't get too bogged down in the technique or the technical stuff unless you need to. And just understand that LumaFusion will get you there. It will bring you home and make beautiful video out of all the footage you've got. We've talked about the 3 panes. We have our sources pane, the preview. It works as a clip preview. It also works as a project preview. And we've talked about the timeline. And we'll go into this as we start to build our story. Okay, so we will start to add some more clips in the next section. Hello and welcome back to this quick start course with LumaFusion. We're now have started a project. We've played with one clip, kind of learned a little bit about some of the project settings. And without getting too technical, I just want to make sure that you've got the chance to film some short clips, 10 to 15 seconds each. Maybe you only need 10 or 15, and it can be around a theme. It can be around your favorite person, a favorite place, favorite activity. Okay? And put those in a basket, and then come back onto this segment of this tutorial, and you will be right in sync with me. You can play along with your version of LumaFusion. You've started a new project. You've navigated into the photos and you found your folder. In this case, we're walking over a bridge in Greece. Okay? So we've already seen that we've got one clip here, a woman who's approaching the bridge. Let's look at some of the other clips as we audition them. This clip, what's the content of this clip? Oh, you think it's nothing, but then look, it's neutral. In other words, she's not there. And then her foot comes. So it's a close-up of the foot. And I'm going to leave it with the left foot up in the air. And now I've kind of got my selection there. Where in this clip does that make sense? It doesn't really matter because you can't see her feet there, but maybe as she scrubs by, right there, I want to make sure she's down on her right foot. Now I can just take that. You see how I even went back to the sources pane and it took the trimmed part of my clip down. This is a really powerful way to work, guys. And now if I need to adjust that clip forward or backward in time, or the content within it, let's say I like the length of time, I can just long press or long tap and I can move it forward or backward. And if I need to zoom in on the timeline to get a little bit more precise control, I can take 2 fingers and I can zoom right in and expand that out. And once I've expanded that out, I'm looking right here. The right foot is going down. So I can just set a marker here, and I can just say, footfall. And it'll put a marker right exactly there. So that's one way to use a marker. I'm going to turn the marker off, and you'll see it's there. So that's the foot down. Here's the foot down. So what I need to do is move that to where the marker is. Just about. Got it. Okay. So you can see what I'm trying to do is show. And that is a pro edit, guys. So that's what you're looking at here is someone who is taking a subject and say, I need you to walk across this bridge about 3 or 4 times. And each time I'm going to put the camera in a specific location. And I want you to walk at the same pace and the same look in the same direction. And what you want is nothing else to change in the background. And then you've got enough takes to put together a little 20, 30-second thing. This is a really fun exercise to do. In fact, maybe that's what you want to do for your project is a walking shot sequence. I'm going to demonstrate some other types of story forms, but this is an easy one to do with a friend, and you don't have to travel far to do it. If you've got this cool bridge out backyard, you can do that. And then maybe what you want to show in your next shot is like a little bit wider view of her walking over the bridge. So now we come back and we get a little bit more of the scene. Again, I just went to the sources where I already had my, edited album. And let's say I just want her to walk for maybe 5 seconds. See, I just scrubbed it over to about 5 seconds. And from there, I can just long press, hold, and it heats it up basically, and it grabs it and says, okay, I want to come down right after that clip. But it looks like she's maybe a little farther up the bridge than I'm showing here. So I could split that clip with the scissors. If I just did that, here's what I'll often do. And then I'll just select that first few seconds that I don't need. And then I'll hit the trash can, and that'll tighten that up. And now, see, I'm also mixing in some really pro video editing tips here in this quick start guide. I hope you'll pay attention that why I'm doing some things are really important. I definitely like to go to a video editing app with a plan, or I like to not work in the middle of a movie or a middle of a story with shots that I know that I can easily connect together. And that's why I will shoot sequences like this, walking shot sequences, so that I can start to sketch and start to figure out what the story will ultimately be. Because then, where does that fit? What comes before? What comes after? Becomes a little easier once you've got a start on a project. Like I said, it can be really intimidating with any video editing app when that is your first view into the video edit. But if you can come with a plan, you're much better off. All right, so I hope that you've started to play with some clips and you've tried the in and out. You've tried the split tool and the delete tool, and most importantly, that undo tool. And you start to get a little bit of sense that this is non-destructive editing. Anything you do can be undone. You're not actually editing the clips. You're not destroying them. When you set an in and out point, you're just setting instructions that the video editing app is following. And that becomes a lot of fun. So you have a lot of flexibility. If you tap and hold a clip, you can move it forward or backward in time. You can move it up to a different timeline. If you don't like what you did, you can instantly undo it. Super powerful app here. And you are not alone in LumaFusion. I want to tell you, yes, I'm here to help you. Rob Montgomery is your guide, but if you long press down here, and I'll show you in the other view, if you long press down in the right-hand corner of the gear icon, there's all these tool tips that will pop up to remind you and train you a little bit about what those tools are called and how they're referenced and maybe even what they do. And it's not just this view where you've got the sources, the preview pane and the timeline. But even when you go into, like, let's say we wanted to edit the audio, if I double tap on the green on the audio track there, here the tooltips are hidden under the question mark icon. So there you go. There's you always got a guide there because this is a powerful app. I'm not going to show you everything, not in this short course, but there's a lot to it. And that's kind of one of your gateways there to learning some of the other modes. Getting back out of any edit is always that arrow up in the top left. Okay. Now, let's just scrub here, and that's what we do up here with this bar that has the blue and the green. See how the blue is matching the video clips and the green is matching the audio clips. You have at least 6 audio tracks, 6 video tracks. I think that might be expanding. I think it might depend on your device in the future, but look, it's more than enough. I get most of my work done with 2 video tracks, maybe 2 or 3 audio tracks. And I do documentaries that anyways, I don't want to brag. I'm just saying you don't need so many tracks all the time unless you're doing something special like a live multicam thing, which is something that's coming for LumaFusion. And you've got multiple cameras, you need to sync them up, and you need multiple video tracks to hold the material. Most of the time, you can get by with a few tracks. I can get by with 1 or 2. Okay, so I think I've given you enough to focus on without distracting you into areas of special effects or special uses. But I want to tell you, doing travel stories with the phone that's in your pocket, the iPhone, and then either editing them on that phone or on your iPad is something you can do every day. And it's something that allows you to get better at one aspect of video and filmmaking production without getting overwhelmed and saying, I have to do a big story. You can just focus on, look, what happens when breaking news happens. Let's look at a little bit more involved project just to let you know that once you've got those building blocks, there's a lot more you can do. And in this case, again, I'm just taking a walk with you-know-who, the original Mojo, my wife, Yordis Montgomery, because she takes me into interesting places. I'm always filming. And we went down here to film all of these kite surfers, and all of a sudden this helicopter landed. So the question I have for you is, what do you do when all you got is this? And in fact, it was the iPhone 6s Plus. It wasn't even one of the new Pro Maxis. iPhone 6s Plus. What do you do if it's your job to be a first responder as a reporter? Interesting use case. Still using LumaFusion. Still thinking about sources, preview pane, timeline. But in this case, I know I can't really use much of the audio recorded there because it's really windy. Let's watch this reel, and then I'm going to break it down for you to give you some insights about how I used LumaFusion to get what I needed. So let's watch it, and I want you to pay attention to the timeline as it plays. I'm going to fade to black, and I'm going to make that a separate little thing so you can just keep playing that over and over again and try and make some notes and pick up what it is you are seeing. Oh, I want to say before I do that, here's a really cool feature in LumaFusion 3, the resizable. Look at that. It's a hidden little thing right here in the corner between the 3 panes is a little gray marker, and that will let you, so now I've minimized, and if I toggle these off, now you'll be able to see that timeline and the preview as the story plays. So let me do that. I'm going to fade to black and then bring it up as a separate segment for you to watch and study.
I didn't expect to be taking pictures of this today or watching a beach rescue unfold. All we had done is walk down to watch the kite surfers when a helicopter suddenly landed next to us. And not just any helicopter, a life rescue emergency helicopter with a medical team who were called to this remote location in northern Germany, in the national park, to render medical aid. They had to bring the person in a pickup truck through the campground and load them on to the helicopter. This took about 30 minutes. And so the question is, when all you have is your iPhone, and this is the iPhone 6s Plus, you don't have ND filters, you don't have a tripod, you don't have a microphone, what kind of shots will you capture that will let you take your audience to that scene and experience what it's like to see the female co-pilot clear the deck and start that machine?
Oh yeah, I got sandblasted.
Oh yeah, I got sandblasted. Let's just scrub through that. So that is 1 minute 51 seconds. One camera, iPhone 6s Plus, that was in my pocket. I did not have any of my gear with me. After I filmed it, I went back to my tent, which was a 10-minute walk away. Built my visual timeline, just like I showed you previously with my examples, and went into the voiceover recording mode and made the sleeping bag over my head so that the wind noise and everything went away, and just kind of riffed and did a one-take vamp on that. Here is that voiceover. When you want to add a voiceover here, I'll just mute that track. So you can see if I bring the headers out, I can just mute that track. So that's basically what you're looking at here, is a visual sequence. Okay, there's this little animation. I built that in LumaFusion as well. I show that in my more advanced tutorials, how to work with those elements, but it's kind of fun. If you got anything clipped from another video app, you can also add it in. That's another way to do it. It's a cool hack. So you can add titling. I'm going to show you once you've got a strong visual sequence. And see, what was cool is, like, I used neutral framing to introduce the helicopter, connect my characters to the previously mentioned things. There's a lot of things about the filmmaking, the skill of filmmaking, that have nothing to do with the technique or this app I'm showing you. But basically, I worked really hard to get shots and then took some screen grabs up from my graphics app to write the visual story. Writing the script, I didn't even have to write it down. I didn't even have a pen and paper or anything to write it down with. So I had to make a really strong visual story. Then, once I had done that, the tool that I use is down here. It's the plus. And the plus button in LumaFusion will let you add those extra layers. Like, you can add a voiceover or a transition, a blank clip, a main title, or an overlay title. Now, an overlay title is like a superimposition. A main title will be a title card. It'll be white type against black background. You can change all those parameters, but those are the basic forms for the plus additional button. So you can add a clip. We're going to add a voiceover. And you see the interface is a little bit, it takes over the whole width down here, and it's just on the bottom. And you kind of have to know what these buttons do down here in the bottom left. The green is obviously a signal indicator of your strength of your voice. And as I get into my radio or television presenter voiceover voice, I will think about the first shot. This helicopter shouldn't be here. Well, this helicopter came out of the blue, or whatever my first line is. When I'm ready, I'm going to press this circle button down here. It'll give me a 3-second countdown. I better be ready. This helicopter is a life rescue helicopter, and it suddenly arrived as we were filming on a beach in Germany. Okay. When I'm happy with that, then I hit that button again, and it stops. You can see the new voiceover clip is on a new audio track here. And I can audition it with these controls here for playing.
This helicopter is a life rescue helicopter.
Very good. Okay, and if you like it, or you can tap the green check button and it will accept that. And it'll just basically come back out of the voiceover editing tool. If you tap the circle going back, guess what? You're going to go back and do take 2. So let's say we like it. We'll just tap the green button, and now that audio track is added below. If I want to get rid of it, I can tap it and delete it. If I want to go in and edit it, if I double tap on it, I will go into the audio editing. And in the audio editing, you can see some more of the LumaFusion toolkit. You can work with audio plugins. Oh my God. So if I wanted to put a channel strip on that compressor limiter, I could do that and get just the kind of same kind of quality I would expect, or very close to working in the television studio, right, in the broadcast house. You can resize that and get it a little bit bigger for the controls, or you can work all the controls for your audio plugins over here with the sliders. Okay, so that is how you can start out just walking down the beach and come away with a great story. I hope that helps. I hope that you can now start with LumaFusion, add clips, make a visual story, and see where it leads. I can't wait to see some of your practice videos, some of the places that you will take us. You can always find me at robmontgomery.com. Hey, happy filming.